I am very excited to see many students, 34 students here. Wow, that's great. Good morning, good day to everybody who is watching today. My name is Christian Servin, and I am an associate professor in El Paso Community College. Yeah, I teach computer science courses. I've been teaching these courses for more than 15 years. I a couple of your names look very familiar. I'm glad that everybody's here. If you're not here, you're watching this is because you have some interest on trying to learn some text editors. This is a very basic lesson on how to introduce to different text editors in computer science. Let me just give you a small background about what we're doing. So I teach computer science. I teach computer programming courses, including some of the IT. That includes Python or in the past I have teach some kind of cybersecurity courses and something related with those areas. I'm very happy to see many attendance right now. And if you are watching this video later on, thank you for watching. It's because you're interested in computer programming, computer science. This is your very first semester, maybe your first year, or it doesn't necessarily your first year, but you're coming back and trying to program a little bit. That's great. Now, in order to program, in order to create your programs or develop or implement any kind of software, you need a text editor. And I'm gonna give you a small description about some of those text editors that are available for you. Some of them are very basic, some of them are very fancy, yeah, and it's really up to you which flavor you want to adopt to your needs of a computer programming. At EPCC, if you would be just taking a face-to-face course with us, that will be very easy because you just go to the lab, to the computer lab, and then there's a computer with you, and all of them, they have something called Dr. Java. It works like a champ in those computers at the computer lab. Some of the issues that we're having right now, since we're doing this online teaching, is that many students, they have different kind of software. They have different machines, different operating systems, different versions of the operating systems, different Java virtual machines, which is also another dilemma, right? And the configuration might be a little bit different, right? So I decide, we've been teaching online for almost 1 year, and I started to see this recurrent problem with my students and some other students who say, you know what, Dr. Java is not working. You know what, I'm having problem with the tools.jar, with a lot of different things. So I started to look at different alternatives. That's why we are here right now, and I will show you a little bit of those alternatives. So, and I will demonstrate a little bit more about how to use those tools of my preference right now, but then you can just continue working on your own. Next Friday, I'm going to give another workshop on basic commands of Linux, right? Some of those terminals, they're called terminals or command lines. If you're in a Windows user, you're probably gonna refer this as a command line. If you're in a Linux slash Mac, you're gonna refer this as a terminal. So the terminal is basically a console when you can actually run those commands. It's very nice. If you look at them, you might think this is like a hacking thing, because everybody, all the hackers, they live in the terminal. It looks kind of cool. You're very cool, and eventually you're gonna become more cooler, or writing cool programs and scripts on the terminal. It looks like you're doing some kind of hacking. That's basically the most basic thing to do through the command line. I'm gonna show you that next Friday, if everything goes well. And then I'm gonna give a series of different tutorials. Unfortunately, we don't have classes that we can teach you those commands, those tricks. So, but I have a different methodologies to introduce those. That's why I'm giving you those workshops. I'm very happy to see we have 50 students right 50 students right now in the room. I am very, very excited to see everybody's just showing up. I want to thank everybody who advertised, the other instructors, to give us this opportunity to invite your students. I see Ms. Karishev here, Mr. Shelley, who actually invite your students. Thank you so much. Let me just share my screen real quick. I promise you this is not going to be a boring PowerPoint um, presentation, because I use Keynote, so that's probably gonna be a boring Keynote presentation. But I'm gonna give a demonstration later on. Don't worry, a hands-on. That's one. Okay. Let's go ahead and just tell you a little bit about the text editors. It seems to be that there is a big family of basically different software, different utilities, platforms that you can use. And as a matter of fact, I think I have a video, and I will be happy if you want to. I can drop this in the chat later on. There's a video that I actually devoted just to talk about each of these individuals right now. As you can see, there's a couple of IDEs, right? The IDE is basically the development environment that is being used in order to program your software. Now, remember that there's many programming languages. Right now, if you're watching this, it's probably because you are interested to learn Java. That's where you're taking a course called CS1 in Java, right? But that's gonna change in a couple, probably semester, a couple of years. You're gonna learn new programming languages like Python, maybe C#, maybe other programming languages more lower level like machine language. You're gonna have a lot of different exposure to different programming languages. The main reason is because the industry needs some kind of people with skills in specific languages, most likely because most of the software that is being done was during the 80s, developed during the 80s, maybe 90s, a lot during 2000s, right? So they need people who actually continue working on those software. Now, I was just gonna tell you that Java is one of the most popular programming languages. Still, right now, there is a lot of I guess fights between what will be better, if it's Python or Java. Python is getting a lot of power because there's a lot of cybersecurity and data analytics or data sciences. Right now is getting very, very popular. Now, at the end of the day, if you want more performance, more robustness, you're gonna pick what we call a compile language. So that means is maybe like Java or C++ or C#. But Java is probably it's not going anywhere in the next decade. So Java has become more and more powerful through those years. Right now, we're in version 8 of the entire JDK, which is the Java Development Kit, which means that there's more and more libraries that people are developing. So here in your screen, you see a couple of that software. You see Visual Studio Code and IntelliJ, right? So these two guys are probably the most popular right now because they give you a lot of different tools to incorporate and develop software for not only for desktop but also for mobile devices. So if you want to do some mobile apps, probably you want to go through those. Eclipse is the official and professional IDE. If you decide to go to the industry, you will find Eclipse. That will be the main requirement for you, and it's very complete. You can actually, people from Google, from Amazon.com, from Microsoft, they use Eclipse in conjunction with other different colleagues. Of course, you might think, teach us Eclipse so we can be professionals. Yes, I would like to do that thing, but believe me, if I teach you Eclipse, you're probably gonna drop the class in 3 hours after I'm starting to talk about Eclipse. Not because it's horrible, it's because it's so complete. It has so many different layers, too many different things that you're gonna say, oh, I'm all confused. Now, I can give you links to very effective tutorials about how to use Eclipse that they broke it in different levels, and I will be happy to give you another tutorial on Eclipse maybe later on. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you. If you're in Java 1 or CS1, I strongly recommend just stay away from Eclipse for now, because you're gonna spend more time in fixing technical difficulties or doing technical environments rather than focusing the programming. And that was my experience as a programmer once, and it was my experience as an instructor for many different semesters ago. We start with Eclipse. Students were very frustrated because they didn't know what's going on. So Eclipse, if you're taking CS3, which is data structures, I think you're ready to start in, I guess, searching for a different IDEs like Eclipse, NetBeans, maybe IntelliJ with those adaptations. Now, there's other more simple like Dr. Java or Atom, right? Or just basic Notepad. Actually, there's that third one that you see right here is called Notepad Plus, which is basically a very just a notepad but with colors very nicely, right? They give you some syntax. It's kind of cute, this one. So I recommend to play with this one a little bit. Now, believe it or not, many programmers for CS1, they use just the terminal or the command line and just a notepad. I know it's very primitive. You're welcome to do that thing, yeah, but I think I would like to just go one more extra step. For example, here I broke this, I guess, this screen into 2 rows and 3 columns, right? If you're using Windows and you're using a Linux environment, like even your Mac, if you're using an Apple or a Mac, will actually use what we call Linux. So it's like a quasi Linux environment. So if you're a beginner, I would recommend to stay in this column for now. Although I heard for the past days that Dr. Java is no longer, I guess, available for many platforms. I know a couple of you are able to download the latest version that was able to work with all platforms. Right now, I was actually testing with a couple of students for the last 2 days. And it seems to be that Dr. Java, it's been out of support. So Rise University, they create this beautiful text editor that we use it for many different years. Very simple. It's a text editor with a compiler, and that's it. This is what I want, right? So it seems to be that right now, because all these different libraries in Windows and different JDKs involved, Dr. Java is no longer working effectively. And we started to see that thing last year when there was some, like JOP Champagne was not actually running effectively through Dr. Java. So that's why we migrate to something called Code. It's a Visual Studio. Now, I know it says intermediate, and the reason why I put it here is because the intermediates, they have what they call autocomplete. So the autocomplete is kind of cool, but is very, I discourage to use autocompletes right now because you're learning the baby steps. If you're taking this class or you're in CS1, you're just learning how to create objects, how to create data types, and how to call those methods or invoke those methods. Very simple. So that's why I was hesitating to ask you to download Visual Studio, but at the same time, I like Visual Studio Code because it kind of combines the terminal that I'm telling you right here and is very basic Notepad. So this is my preference right now if you ask me because of the circumstances. If we would be in a face-to-face environment, maybe that will change my mind. Now, later on, I'll recommend to go and try to learn Eclipse because that's what you're gonna use in industry. Yeah, even if you stay in El Paso or in California or whatever, Eclipse and NetBeans are probably the most useful, widely used platforms for professional environment. If you really want to go the extra step, then I welcome you to go and use Vim, yeah, or probably Emacs. Those are hardcore text editors. Basically, you just don't care about any graphical user interface. You do everything through commands. This is, if you really love code and your passion is code, then I recommend to start playing with Vim, VI, right, or Emacs. That's, if you learn Emacs and VI, you will become a very powerful programmer. I can assure you that. And people will will hire you because you don't not only know how to program, but you know how to deal with Linux environment, pipelines, and whatnot. So this is, how can I put it nicely? Let me put it this way. Don't use this. Yeah, don't use this thing. This is the dark side. Don't go there. All right. Let me just rephrase that. Don't go there. Don't use this thing. So in case you want to, this is the dark side. This is where hackers live there. So please do not use it. Yes, it's their dark side, believe it or not. By the way, we are the dark side. I don't know if you thought that, but yeah, yeah. Thank you so much for your comments. Yeah, there are some very good tutorials about how to use Visual Studio Code as well. It's becoming very powerful for many different reasons. As a matter of fact, the people who create this software are the same people who create a programming language called Kotlin. So that's the reason why it's becoming so popular. So let me actually talk about Visual Studio real quick, because that is basically what we're gonna do today. This guy you can download from here. I think most of you already downloaded from the website. If you receive the flyer, I put those links there for your preference. And there's different ways you can actually use them. There's already a libraries where you can just compile and run right away. You can use those if it works for you, but I'm gonna show you the most basic things. Yeah. So for when you write the command lines, I'm gonna show you in a little bit. The only thing you need to understand is how to compile a program and how to run the program, because that kind of gives you the main feature of writing programs through the terminal, right, through the command line. So the only I guess challenge that you're gonna face is to move through the file system. But for that, I'm gonna give you some kind of very basic commands, like change directory. That's what we call CD, change directory. LS is for listing the files. PWD, that means the print the working directory. Now, I was talking with a classmate of yours, I think it was yesterday. They have a Windows environment, and the Windows environment that might change. I think this will change, yeah, because instead of LS, you should use dir for directory, right? And in reality, it doesn't have to change too much. I think everything has been already embedded in a small Linux environment. Now, I already spoke about Dr. Java, yeah, and the reasons why we use it is because they're very simple, right? Instead of just typing everything Java, C, or run, you only have the button of compile and the button of run, and that's it. Yeah, that's the only thing you have to do. Now, this is a must, right? I don't know how many of you are using Windows or you using a Mac OS X. But if you've seen Windows, you might not have the latest Java JDK, and you have to install it before everything. If you don't have the Java JDK, yeah, this is JDK. This is the Java Development Kit. You probably have the Java GRE, which is the Java Runtime Environment. All the machines have GRE, yeah, because that's how you run all the programs that basically they're running all devices. It's like a launcher. They call it Java launcher. It's the Java Runtime Environment. However, not all the machines have the Java Development Kit, JDK. And this is very important because not everybody is a developer. You are a developer, by the way. So that's why you need to install the Java Development Kit. And you have to go to this website. Yeah, you have to go to this website. Probably it's the newest one. I think this is the latest one, I think. But if you just Google Java JDK download, it should be the very first link. And you should go to the oracle.com. Just make sure you know that thing. And you know what? I'm gonna give you guys a repository where you can actually just go to the direct link. So I'm creating, it's already done, a Java a repository where I have all this information. The only thing that you need to know, guys, is that you have to basically create an account, and they're gonna ask you to create a username and a password. You're welcome to use the EPCC login if you want to, an email. This is only for accountability purposes. They're not going to charge you anything. It's free, right? They just want to know who is downloading this thing. That's pretty much it's what it is. And that's the only thing that you need to be aware. Now, let me just tell you something that that I realized through the last semester. So if you're watching, this is because you are online. So when we migrate from a face-to-face environment to an online environment, there was too many different issues, different concerns, and too many different technical difficulties. And one of them was the text editor. So one of the I guess, platforms that became so popular was replt.it, right? So repl is basically a platform online. Basically, you have to go to the website and program there. I'm gonna demonstrate repl real quick. This works very nice for for many different programming languages, not only Java. It works for Python. It has a lot of Linux, R. There's a couple of them popular programming languages there. So repl is a very nice, stable, cloud-based environment when you can write your programs. The only problem is that you have to be connected to the internet, which I know you are at this point, but you never know what happens. Probably you have to go someplace that you don't have internet and you need to program in your desktop. So, and then you're done there, right? You have to actually install either Visual Studio or something else. So I'm gonna show you how repl works first, and then gonna spend the rest of the workshop on doing Visual Studio Code in order to basically give you a couple of ideas what's happening. Yeah, I went to repl.it and then I create an account. Actually, the account is very easy. They're just asking you to basically use your Google account. If you don't have a Google account, you can create with something else, okay? But I think everybody should have a Google account, a Gmail. The entire screen shows three different small screens: the file directory, where you can save all your files, and when you can actually share them, yeah, and when you can use some kind of packages later on. This is for more advanced things. You can create your own directories, or you create a new file, and there's more stuff, right? If you already have a file there, you can upload it there, or you can download it as a zip file. Now, I just want to let you know that many of your instructors, they don't accept zip files when you submit your work at Blackboard or maybe Canvas. I'm not so sure who's watching this, but be careful when you download. They probably want the .java file. I'm gonna show you how to do that thing. So this is very, very basic, right? They create a class called main. Remember that when you create your class, public class, has to be the same name of your file name. Very basic things: system out println line, hello world. I'm gonna put here hello. And you can, if you can see here, there's a button just to run it, yeah? And that will run it immediately in your right-hand side. There is something called a console, but it's also something called a shell. We're gonna talk about the shell in a little bit when we deal with Visual Studio Code, but the shell basically is the terminal that I was talking about for all this time. But the console basically gives you the output. Yeah, whatever you put here is whatever you're getting right now. Yeah, that N is basically the main from there. Actually, I'm gonna move it a little bit here so you don't get confused with this thing. So this is the output. Now, if you're using the shell, this is the ls means listing the files. This is the console that I was showing you. If I put pwd, this is the print working directory. This will show you where exactly you are located. So let me see if it allows me to go to one directory above. That's when you change directory space ... That will take you to the previous one, hopefully. And I can say pwd, and now I am in runner, as you can see, yeah, because I went one level up. If I put ls, let me see what I have here. If you notice, I have a couple things here. I have cs1, which is the directory that I create, some files, right? And notice that there is a Python program there. But if I want to go to the directory, actually ls -l will give you a listing of basically the directories. The D means is a directory, yeah, and this is something what we call file attributes that gives you security to read, write, and execute, right? You don't really need to know this thing at this point. I'm just giving you some information that's gonna be very useful for the next semesters, I guess. Now, I want to go back to my directory where I have my main class. So I'm gonna change directory to CS1. If I do this, and if I ask, where am I right now? I am again in CS1. Okay, list me everything that is right here. I want to see the details. And I can see here that there is a main.java and a main.class. So this will take me to another point. When you write your source code, when you create your programs that you're gonna submit to instructors, you're creating the .java file. That Java file basically is all the code, is this thing that I'm highlighting in my left hand side. This is the source code. The source code is basically what you make in order to write the code that they ask you to do. Now, when you compile, and this is a very important word, when you compile, basically you use the resources from your operating system in order to create an executable file. The executable file is this thing. It's called the class file. If you try to read the class file, you will find gibberish, right? You will create, actually, let me show you. There's a command called more. This will display what's inside. Let's take a look what is inside of that class file. Yeah, you see there is just, I don't know if you're able to see this, but you cannot see it. This is a byte. This is the representation of the byte code. But if you have a chance to open your class file, you will see all kind of weird symbols because those are the byte codes. And that's the one that we need to use in order to run your program. Again, you don't use the class file. The class file, it goes attached to whatever operating system you're using. Now, let's go back. Oh, by the way, a very useful command is clear. When you put clear, it will wipe out everything. Okay, so again, let me just compile. Java C is that means Java compiler. C stands for compiling, space, and then you put the name of your file, main.java, yeah? So when you do this, it will compile it will create an executable. You know what? Maybe I should have done this before. You see that there is the class. Let me just remove main.class. RM means remove. If I say what is there again, I remove it. Notice that I have only the Java file. So when I compile Java C and then I put here main.java, it will create the executable, which is the class file. And if I say again, hey, let's list what is there, now you can see the class file. You see, this is the process when you write your code in the .java file, and then when you compile it and create an executable called class file. Now let's run it. The way you run this is by typing Java and then only the name of the program, which is main. You see? Now we are able to basically execute, to write the code, to compile the code, and to execute the code. Those are the three steps that probably most of you need to recognize in Java 1, in CS1. It's very important to recognize those things because when your instructor calls you, make sure you write this code, make sure you compile this code. When you run this program, yeah, those are the terminology that your instructors will be using from now on. Let me go to Visual Studio Code. This is the desktop environment that I was telling you about. Basically, very basic text editor. This is what it looks like. Basically, here in the top part, you have the text editor. In the bottom part, you have the terminal. This is where I was telling you, you can type here ls, and it will list you everything here. You can put clear. It will wipe out everything. Yeah. So let's go ahead and start creating a very basic program. I'm gonna type it public class, and I'm gonna call it my first program, and then I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna save it immediately. And the nice thing about Ripple is that they already give you the skeleton. Some of you are using Zybook, some of you are using other different platforms. They already give you skeletons. I hate that thing because you don't know what's going on. I want you to start working from scratch. So public class, my first program, and I'm gonna save this real quick in my desktop. So I'm gonna go here to my desktop. When I try to save, ladies and gentlemen, when I try to save, it opened a dialog box, very similar like when you want to save a Word document or whatnot. Make sure your name is the same name as you put after the class. Ladies and gentlemen, please let me have your indivisible attention on this. If you don't save your file with the same name of your class file, you're gonna have a lot of problems. You're gonna be frustrated because you're gonna say, there's the code, what the heck is going on? And then you're gonna say, why is not working? And then you're gonna say, I hate this program, I hate this class, I hate everything, right? I'm gonna drop the class. So please don't do that. Please be aware that this name matches with the file name. So be careful with that, okay? Please be careful with that. This is very important, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't have this, you're gonna have a lot of problems. By the way, I'm gonna give you if you want to, I can give it to your instructors also, a video that basically shows you all these mistakes by trying to fix that thing immediately. One of the things that we figure out through time is that students, they forget those things. But I create a couple of series of videos that they can save you to avoid those mistakes. Those are segments, right? So let's go back to this code. This is very important. Now, after that, we're gonna create the main. So let me just show you something. When you have this kind of resources like the Visual Studio, this is what I don't really like, the autocomplete. The autocomplete, you can just type main and that'll give you the entire main part, right? It's very nice, it's very cool, it's very lazy. Now, okay, fine. Lazy is good in computer science, but lazy trying to recognize this part is what I don't like, right? Remember, especially because you're in CS1, you need to understand what exactly we're doing. So that was the autocomplete that I was telling you. There's also another one called sysout that gives you the system out print line. And then you can put here hello workshop. Yeah. For those who this is the very first time, you might think, what kind of sorcery I just wrote there? And it's because there's a lot of different code there. Notice that there is some bluish there. Those are reserved words. There is something in green. If you notice, everything that starts with capital is like that kind of green. That is the way Java recognizes what we call objects. Yeah, and then there's also something called methods. Yeah, that's what they give you. There's some editors, they put this red. This is like orange. Everything that is in the quote unquote, they're called strings. I know there's a lot of different things that I just mentioned right now. Don't worry if I'm talking about kind of sorcery. This is in chapter 2 of your book, okay? And you will probably learn it next week or the week after. So I just want to let you know that those things exist. Okay, now that it's saved, I save it in my desktop. So I'm gonna go down here on my terminal and I'm gonna change directory to my desktop because that's where I have my file. As a matter of fact, you know what? Let me just share my entire screen so you can actually see what I'm doing here. Let me see, hopefully this works. Now, notice that here I saved my first program.java is right here in my desktop, is this guy, right? And if I put ls, that means list whatever I have. So I have my first program.java in a folder, right? This is the folder that is right here. So I have 2 items on my desktop. And if you don't believe me, I can put ls minus l just to give the details. As you can see, one is a directory, which is called folder, and the other one is a file, .java with a lot of different privileges. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and clear my screen to clear up everything. I'm gonna type Java C, and then I'm gonna type my first program.java. And I want you to pay attention what's gonna happen in the background of my desktop. When I hit enter, it's going to generate a class file. Check this out. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Hopefully you saw that thing. It's like, oh, magic, right? But it's not magic. It's basically the same class file what we use when we were using REPL. So I create now the executable. Guys, if you don't have the class file, you cannot run your program. Make sure you always do the Java C and then the Java program. Okay? If you try it, let me show you something, because the next thing is to run it through Java, my first program, without anything. Hello workshop. Now look what I'm going to do. I'm gonna delete this guy. I don't have a class file. If you don't believe me, let's list it. There's nothing on the desktop. I'm going to type Java my first program without the .java. I'm going to try to run the program without compiling. Okay, without compiling. Look what's gonna happen. Error, right? I couldn't find or load the main class, my first program. Is being caused by something, right? You got no idea what the heck they're talking about. This is because you're trying to run the program without compiling it. So that's why the Java C is very important to do it right away, and then you can run it. Yeah, let me see. Yeah, so I have a question is, are these commands like clear, Java C, Java like that the same for REPL, for Visual Studio? Yes, they are. Those are Linux commands. And if you're next week, I'm going to give you a workshop basically that I'm gonna explain them, right? All of them for your convenience. So those are the same. They're the same commands. And because we're using a Linux environment, yeah. If you're using a Windows PowerShell environment, that might change. Now, I know many of you are using Windows. Don't worry. These commands that I've been using, like clear, change directory, Java C, they're the same for both flavors, Windows and Linux. So don't worry. Last thing, I'm going to just run this program after I compile them, and it works effectively and precisely. So those are the type of things that you need to know to create your very first program in for this week. Now, I know it's probably a lot to digest, so don't worry. Yeah, most of those things your instructor will teach you through an online session or through a video. You're welcome to come back to this video. I will make sure everybody has access to this one. What I recommend, just go and subscribe to that channel, and I'm going to post it. You will receive it right away, the notification. Make sure you mark that you will receive that notification. Now, I know it's a lot to process at this point because you're learning a new programming language. This is what happens when you're learning, I don't know, Russian or French or Spanish, or I don't know. You're just learning the first day of classes after that language. Your brain is like, what is all these words, right? You have to practice. And unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know how to put it this way, in computer science, it's all about practice. If you stop practicing, you're gonna lose it. You're gonna lose it bad, because programming, it requires a lot of attention on this. Now, I know what you're thinking right now. It's like, oh, it's a lot of work. It's like math, but even worse. Is the opposite. Is better than math, by the way. You're gonna take a lot of math in our courses, but it's very important to learn computer science nowadays, because everybody has one of these. It's a mobile device, and those mobile devices, you can create your own applications. As a matter of fact, I don't know, look what's happening right now. You're taking this class online because there is software that allows you to do those things. There's a lot of jobs right now as a computer scientist. Believe me, there's plenty of jobs in computer science. The problem is that there's not many people who have the courage to go to computer science, because it requires some kind of I guess a lot of effort, right? Like a lot of strong effort at the beginning, right? At the very beginning, because the fundamentals you just have to learn the entire vocabulary, the entire commands and things like that. And later on is very fun. It's quite fun. You can program your mobile device. You can program Raspberry Pis, Androids, drones, sorry, robots. You can do a lot of different things in computer science. All right. At this point, I know you probably have a question or probably two. I'm gonna invite my peer leaders to show up right now just to meet and greet. I'm gonna remove this, and I'll be welcome. I'll be happy to come back to this thing real quick. But I just want to ask my peer leaders to show up to say hi to everybody in case you are. Are you here?
Yes, actually.
There's
Hi.
George. Okay.
Hi guys, my name is George. I've been touring for it's gonna be my fourth semester now. So if you guys have any questions or anything, you can always feel free. Especially like downloading your softwares and all that. We go through that, make sure you guys will be able to run it. And yeah, we'll be here for the whole semester for you guys. If you guys have anything extra credit assignments, we also have. And if you guys have anything, you can always feel free to come by. Okay. Now that Ray's talk.
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Reyes. I've been a peer leader for about a week now, and well, I'm a peer leader mainly for CS1, and I'm here to help anybody out with the fundamentals or downloading any software or understanding the basics or even concepts. And as peer leaders, we're here to help out with assignments and everything. And I know that computer science can be a pretty daunting major, and I know that the classes can be a little intimidating, but with enough persistence and dedication, it can be done.
That's a great comment. Thank you so much. I'm missing one more peer leader. Let me show you real quick the schedule for the peer leaders for this semester. So what both of them said is true. I want to thank them for their hard work that they're doing. In the past, we didn't have enough peer leaders for everybody. Now check this out. Check the schedule. To be honest, we have never had too many peer leaders with so many different hours. So we have available from 9 a.m. all the way to 8 p.m. Monday to Friday. And also Saturdays, we have from 9 to 3 o'clock. Hopefully this helps a little bit on that. Okay, yeah, I think this is a great start. Yeah, you're welcome. Hopefully this was helpful for all of you. And if you have any questions or any suggestion about workshop you want to see later on, please send it to me. Okay, send it to me and tell me, Professor, can you tell us a little bit more about this? And I'll be happy to make those series of workshops. I am here to help you out, and I'm here to assist you, right, to all of you. And again, I do this because I'm very concerned about you successfully finish this class, finish your associate degree, and then transfer to a four-year institution like UTEP, NMSU, or any other better university, and then become a very good software engineer or cybersecurity, data analytics. So I will be happy to help you out through this career pathway. Okay, I'll be here in a little bit. I want to thank everybody who showed up today. I hope this was helpful for you. If it was, please let me know. Please let your instructor know that you learn a lot, and hopefully this can help you out in the future to make better programs and to give you the right path to start creating your programs. In the meanwhile, happy coding, and I'll see you next time.